Hey Trails Collective, Ian here. So in this short episode, I just wanted to cue you into a few pieces of media or articles that came across my view shed the past week or two that I thought are, they're worth mentioning, and if you're interested, to check out. And just a couple updates on other just regional media. So we'll start with the latter. So the CULTRA Trail and Ultra Running podcast, which we've mentioned quite a few times, which many of you are probably familiar with, released episode 102 last night, I believe, and it was with Lloyd. Craig is an ultra runner who lives in Utah, and he also happens to head up the Trail and Ultra Running Facebook group. Supposedly the Trail and Running Ultra Facebook group, for those of you who are not already on it, it's like 122,000 members and supposedly the largest Facebook community maybe in the world. So pretty awesome that just happens to be trail and ultra running related. And what I've seen has just been a really good resource and go-to. And so as part of the interview, they dug in what got him into trail running and what it's like managing or mediating or however that goes, such a massive community of individuals, particularly where I think social media can be so polarized these days. But also it reminded me of the, interconnected nature of us all as just community members, particularly in the trail and ultra space. My intentional slogan for Trails Collective is connected by trails. And that kind of hit home. So I've never met the individual Craig that I know of. He lives partway across the country. Maybe we've crossed paths. But they got into a little bit in talking on Davy Crockett. And Davy Crockett, for those of you who don't know, I believe he lives in Virginia, maybe. My old house that I lived here in Ithaca prior was a log home built, I think in like 92, built from the timber of the property. It's a 5-acre, beautiful wooded lot outside of Upper Tremont State Park here in Ithaca. Really wonderful home that we also put a lot into. But the person who initially built the structure, framed it out, was Davy Crockett. And when I first, I think years ago, 10, 15 years ago, maybe whatever it was, started trying to find who this Davy Crockett was, I found the ultra runner Davy Crockett in, again, I think Virginia, and reached out to him. And I think at that time he was maybe coming up to run one of my events, the Iroquois Trails 100 or maybe the Virgil Crest 100, if my memory serves me correctly. And so it just becomes a person in common, this person that I've never met, and just realizing how close we are in terms of our shared experiences and the community, a separation of one or two. So really cool community. Check out the Trail and Ultra Running podcast this week. The, let's see, another one, I guess just an update or to post or to cue you in on for any of you who may be looking for new opportunities. Something that was posted up or queued in the media. There's a job posting. There's Director of Trail Development with the Finger Lakes Trail Conference, and working to bring the various pieces of the equation together from trail development, management, owner and DEC relations into an effective unit. For $40,000 to $50,000 a year salary and with the ability to work remotely, it would seem like there's a whole lot of trail runners out there and somebody who might be interested in that possibility. Something that unfortunately I just queued into late, it was posted up on the Virginia Happy Trails Facebook group, was the Ottawa Adventure Film Festival that screened, one of the portions screened last night. I'm still trying to find out whether we can watch it after the fact. I don't have that answer, but I will plug it when we do. But last night's focus or theme was on trail and ultra running, and it just looked like a really wonderful slate of films. It was basically from all over the world. I think there was maybe like 6 or 7 films taking us from South Africa to the old growth forest of British Columbia. One on 2 runners and researchers looking into maybe mice as the greatest endurance animals on the planet, and then just the depths of the extreme nature of the ultra events that we take on. So looked really great. If any of you find out before I do whether we can watch it post-mortemly, let me know, because I would like to check it out and plug it. And then let's see, 3 articles that I thought were cool articles, short reads for you to check out. One was it was called the We Studied Mental Toughness in Ultramarathon Runners. Mind over matter is real but won't take you all the way. And it was a crew of individuals or researchers who I think had surveys from 56 of the entrants from the HURT 100, maybe last year. And for those of you who don't know, HURT 100 is a 100-mile race out in Hawaii. Pretty burly event, pretty burly course. It was one that I paced, I think, 2 of the first 3 years, maybe, when I lived out there. And pretty wonderful event, pretty wonderful community. But they were, I think, surveying entrants and individuals from that event. And they basically concluded that while there's a threshold of mental toughness that comes with all these ultra events, that you still have to have the physical underpinnings to make them possible. And so I don't think there's anything really landmark. I think it's something we probably all would have assumed or known to be true, but it's interesting to see a team try to quantify it. And that's also, I think, been really amazing for me to see in the trail and ultra running space, is just how powerful that equation is with the mind over matter. And one of their takeaways was that a big piece of the equation in equating to success in ultra is somebody's sense of self-efficacy and just believing that they can do it. And that's part of the really interesting things about ultra running and trail is you try to make sense of these things that don't really make sense. You know, whether it's 50K, 50 mile, 100 mile, to say you're going to go out and run that, it doesn't really make sense. I mean, you can't do that, right? But yet we set off to do these things. We toe the line, we start, and we are indeed able to do them. And one of the other pieces that they mentioned in this study was that they just found that in whatever measures that trail and ultra runners are much tougher, whether that be, I would imagine it's the mental component, than other sports of any color. And so I think there's that really critical piece of us being able to do things that we shouldn't necessarily be able to do. And I think it's, you know, when we talk about maybe a hockey or soccer or whatever, you might have a lifetime of building your skill set, and without that you can't really do it. But with trail and ultra, you just kind of have to, right, put one foot in front of the other for a certain amount of time, and it's as simple as that. And there may be some individuals out there that'll never run a 4-minute mile or a 5-minute mile or a 6-minute mile. It's just not in the cards. But when you get into how, I think, tough and capable we are and how much the general population might be, it's a pretty wild thing. And then I think dovetailing into that concept a little bit, there was another article that I think was queued up from a friend, or maybe it was from one of the Trail Sisters sites, but it was called it was from the entity Wild Women Running, and the article was "Ultra Runners Don't Look Like That." And it gets into just the reality of whether it be in our own social circles or surrounded by media or our preconceptions of what runners should look like, and particularly in the trail and ultra space, you know, what do runners look like, right? I mean, I think one of the beautiful things is how diverse, at least in body type, our community is. You know, I think that we could still use quite a bit more diversity in terms of demographic, and for instance, we for sure need a whole lot more individuals that happen to be black, I think, in our ranks, in our lineup, to more represent a healthy or representative demographic, so to speak. But in terms of body type, all shapes and sizes. I think this was driven home for me over the years in, for sure, putting on the Virgil Crest 100, where, you know, there's the people that would be most apt to finish. And this is the cross between the toughness first article that I mentioned, and the body type article was, I wouldn't be able to tell you with any degree of accuracy the success or likelihood of somebody finishing the 50 mile or 100 mile based on body type. You know, I could probably get fairly closer with saying maybe what individual will be able to break 4-minute mile, 5-minute mile, you know, something like that. I think there's a defined set that makes it more able to travel at faster velocities. But when you're talking about just finish and the toughness of runners, it's amazing and how beautiful the diverse set of body types that are out there. And it also drives home just how important I think that reality needs to be in terms of getting out there. You know, if people continually think that, you know, that whole community is built on stick runners or whatever, you know, some people just may not feel comfortable in even coming out to join a group run or to sign up for a race, or and you've got the whole angle of the terrible effects of the body image and type disorders and eating disorders and everything that may play into some of the endurance sports, and particularly running. So a really nice article. Check it out. We'll have it linked. And then one that was linked on Emily Collins' page, a September article posted in the New York Times entitled "What My Sled Dogs Taught Me About Planning for the Unknown." And I'll just read you a paragraph here. Sled dogs can run further in a shorter time than almost any other animal, but they only think as far ahead as they can see, hear, and smell. They catch the scent of a deer. They see a curve in the trail. It is in its way. That simple. If the team meets an unexpected challenge, if they come to a steep mountain or take shelter in a storm, they're better off for their restraint. Because they're healthy, content, they have what they need, and they have each other. There's no stronger way to meet the unknown. And so I think this was particularly applicable in the time of COVID, where we all are so strung out that we don't necessarily have an endpoint at the moment, where we do need restraint, where we do need each other and support, and to be able to just live, I think, in the moment and day to day. So also just a really nice article for you to check out. And again, we will have it linked. So thanks for tuning into this episode of some of what's been shaken in the media coming across my computer, so to speak. And I will catch you next round. See ya.